FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and today is May 19th, 2020. Well, want to know, have you lost your job? You lost your income as a result of the coronavirus-induced pandemic, financial pandemic, that is? Well, what are you planning to do with your 401k? Do you have plans? You need to hear what my next visitor here is going to advise. Very important that you handle this correctly at this particular time. In the meantime, I want to know, what effect has the pandemic had upon you, your family, especially your income and your ability to make a living? And you can email me at kl@kerrylutz.com, kl@kerrylutz.com. Well, Arwen Becker is with us now. Arwen, it's great to have you back. You've got a new book coming out in August. We'll talk about that. In the meantime, if you lost your job permanently, I would add, due to the coronavirus, then you got to start thinking about your 401k. What are the ramifications? What do you need to be thinking about?
Well, and I appreciate you having me on. It's good to talk to you as well. Certainly a different time that we're standing in. There's really 3 different options that people are faced. I'm always pretty interested to find out that a lot of times the second option people are unaware of. But really, the first, I would say, when you're facing a layoff is just take a moment, just take a moment, take a deep breath, leaving your money in your current plan, 401k, 403b, wherever it might be, isn't always bad. And that gives you just a little bit of time to exhale, kind of take a lay of the landscape and determine really what the next step is. Maybe, you're going to be finding another position in this market. Certainly it's a little bit more challenging for other people right now, but maybe you want to take a little bit of time before you roll that into your new 401k. So sitting for a moment is not a bad option. The limitations, though, that a lot of people face in staying at their old 401k is that they have limited investment options and really limited control over that money. So if I work for a company and they decide that they're going to change from maybe TD Ameritrade as their custodian and they're going to shift over to Fidelity, and Fidelity doesn't have the same similar types of investments that I had in my TD account, they can liquidate that account without talking to me about it, put the whole thing into cash, and do that all on my behalf without communicating with me about that. And so there is limited options, and you also are limited in control. Nobody is going to be calling you and saying, hey, I realized that you got remarried. Should we update your beneficiaries? I actually had a client who I sat down with after he retired from Boeing in 1993. And this was only a couple of years ago. That's how long he had left it at the 401k at Boeing. And when I sat down with him and his new wife, who was a client of mine, I said, it's still at Boeing. You didn't roll it into an IRA. And he said, I didn't even know I could do that. And so a lot of people they're not even aware that they can roll that out into an IRA. But the kicker for him is his ex-wife was still listed as primary beneficiary. And this happens so often that people forget to update their beneficiaries when they leave it in an old company plan, or people just forget that the money was even there. So yes, leaving it at your employer for a time is okay. Is it the best option? Most of the time, no. And it's for those reasons that I've discussed. And so then the other option, as I mentioned, that he was unaware of is rolling it into an IRA. So an individual retirement account, the beauty is you could work for multiple companies. And when you separate from service, if you don't roll it into the new 401k, you can throw it into that IRA. There's no taxable event for doing that. And then you have the whole world of investments available to you. So you have much greater options, much greater control. And certainly, just like we do with our clients, you can hire an advisor to help you manage that. and stay on top of it so we don't get these these issues with old beneficiaries getting out of date, right? You know what I'm saying? And then the final option, which I really wouldn't recommend, but some people are going to be faced with it, and that is withdrawing the money. So right now, under the CARES Act, normally if you're under 59 and a half, you pay a penalty. You pay 10% for withdrawing that money out early. Well, right now, under the CARES Act, you can withdraw up to $100,000 without that added penalty. However, you still have to pay taxes on this money. It's not tax-free coming out. You have to pay taxes, and you lose the benefit of it having been in that tax-deferred status for the long term of your retirement. So it's a short-term decision a lot of people might be faced with making, but it really is going to affect you long-term. So it's something you want to get advice about before you consider doing that.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. On the other hand, if you got laid off and you're not getting a job anytime soon, then you might be in a lower tax bracket. It could pay to convert it to a Roth, or if you need the money to survive and pay bills, then you got to do what you got to do, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the biggest benefits for having a financial advisor that actually can sit down and run different scenarios. So you can at least see what are all the options that I have and make a better decision. Because I say a lot of times, and I see this, consistently across the board with people that we meet with, is people plan in little microclimates. They make these decisions based on this small view of the great picture. It's like looking through just this little hole and they can only see part of it versus putting all the pieces together and laid out in front of you and then going, okay, with all this that I see, is this still the decision that I would make? Sometimes the answer is yes. And sometimes it's not. But if you don't have somebody who can see how all those pieces function together, your future employment, or maybe you're going to be selling your house in the future, or Social Security is going to be coming up at some point, whatever that might be, you really can make a lesser decision. So that's why it's always best to have comprehensive planning.
Yeah. So you got to consider the whole thing and understand that probably this is a temporary thing. You're probably going to be going back to work. If not for your old company, at some point for a new company. We don't really know what the extent of the structural unemployment is going to be once everybody is called back to work, once the economy reopens, do we?
Right. No, we don't. And, and I think that you really kind of hit the nail on the head. This isn't going to last forever. Current problems are always temporary, but it feels like they're going to last forever. And they're just not. We're going to be facing just a new normal. It's like you have a baby. Your life doesn't just go to hell in a handbasket, but you create a new normal. It's never going to be the same, but it'll just be different. But it'll feel normal and you'll go on with daily life. But right now it just feels a little tough and like it's never going to end, and it will. We'll get through it.
Yeah. Everything in life is temporary, right?
Yeah. Yep. It sure is.
Yeah. So along those lines, if you are out of work, if you are thinking about what else to do, what are 3 pieces of advice that you can give to this person who suddenly finds themselves back in the work pool?
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
Silver One Resources is an exploration and development company backed by strategic investors Eric Sprott and SSR Mining. At Silver One's Candelaria Mine project in Nevada, there is already a historic resource estimated at 127 million ounces of silver, which Silver One is developing and advancing. The company's Phoenix Silver project, located within the Arizona Silver Belt, is an early-stage exploration project on which native silver vein fragments have been discovered near surface. One grab sample assayed an astounding 14,688 ounces per ton. Yes, that's right, ounces, not grams. Silver One has tremendous exploration potential, is extremely leveraged to the price of silver, and is cashed up and poised to increase shareholder value. Silver One trades in New York under the ticker SLVRF and in Toronto under the ticker SVE. To learn more, go to silverone.com. That's silverone.com.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
So I always just say you got to exhale. Just take a moment, take stock and inventory of where you're at. Maybe, look at all the areas of your life, not just the money, financial side of your life, and remind yourself that not everything is bad, right? Because sometimes we can get focused on that one thing. But then start seeking advice. I mean, if you don't have a financial advisor, maybe you can't right now, you're going, I just don't even know where to start on that. At the very least, check out a book, go online, listen to, there's so many great podcasts that are free. There are a lot of wonderful ways to start gaining education that don't cost anything except for the one thing that a lot of us have a little bit more on our hands, which is time right now. So seeking some advice in a non-threatening way to kind of know at least where to get started. And then honestly, finding somebody who you can hire that you have a great relationship with, just like trying to find a general care physician, somebody that you trust, that you can communicate with, that speaks the language that you understand, and be able to have somebody in your back pocket that is going to be able to help walk you through this. Because our company, we've been around for 20 years. We went through the dot bomb. We went through the Great Recession. We know what it's like to walk people through really difficult times when they look at their 401k and they go, oh my gosh, I just lost 35%. What am I supposed to do? I'm never going to be able to retire, or this is never, and those things happen. It's just right now they're happening in larger quantities, but this is not unusual for somebody to face a massive loss in their company plan and be 2 years out from retirement. So having somebody who has there, because there's a lot of advisors who never went through the Great Recession, who started their career in the last 10 years, right?
Oh, it's so
but
true.
Talking to somebody who's actually walked through that, if you're specifically looking towards retirement, that's a biggie. I mean, a really big part of it. But for anybody, I mean, I'm in my mid 40s, it's just still being able to look at the long term, what is the plan, getting it clarified, and then being able to just walk it out day after day, one step at a time, and realize recoveries happen. This too shall pass. We're going to get through this.
Yeah, that's what my mother always used to say. In tough times, this too shall pass, and this will pass. And I think it's really important, Arwen, to treat this, even though it might be a dark time, as an opportunity, because maybe you weren't that happy with your old job. Maybe you were stagnating. Maybe you needed a reason to really move on and to find a new part of yourself. Because if you don't grow, then if you're not growing, I wouldn't say you're dying, but you're not living your best life. I think a satisfying, happy life requires a plan for continued growth in all aspects of your life. So this could be the opportunity that you weren't waiting for. And
I mean, if you can listen to, there's so many great podcasts. One of my favorite is How I Built This. And it's about entrepreneurs who built crazy, amazing companies. And it's shocking how many of those that they're interviewing now or in the last 2 years were companies built in 2008, 2009, 2010, when you're like, I can't even believe these people were thinking about building a company then. But that's because they found something, they were pushed out of something, and they were like, well, here's a problem, it needs solving. And so there's a lot of people out there who really have an entrepreneurial bent, and they have something and a great idea. And right now you have the time to do it and to look at it and start figuring out, is this something that could actually be a path to living a life that's much more of the life that I want, just like you said, and kind of doing a reset. It's a perfect time to do that.
Yes. And the key is not to get enveloped in a fear-based mindset, because fear is the great enemy of change.
Yep.
Fear makes you cling to what you know, to the past. Fear makes you not take risks, even intelligent, calculated risks. And fear, you can't be positive if you're living in fear. Easier said than done to get out of that, as we know. But with what we said, the fact that everything in life is temporary, and you need to know that as bad as it might seem now, it's not the rest of your life unless you decide to make it that way. And that's why we urge you to really go and start trying new things and start reinventing yourself. It's not really reinvention. Yeah.
Yep.
So how many times, Arwen, have you reinvented yourself in your life?
Well, let's see. I have a zoology degree. I went through a divorce. Let's see. Started out as owning a financial planning firm 20 years ago. I had never done seminars. I started taking those over in 2017. I've written a book. It's just some of those things are actually all of them, the most terrifying and some of the hardest times in my life to transition. But I think back, I think Tony Robbins said a lot of people underestimate they overestimate what they can accomplish in 12 months. They underestimate what they can accomplish in 10 years. Mm-hmm. And I just look back in the last 4 years of my career and how much I have changed and grown and really reinvented myself, never having done public speaking 4 years ago and now doing lead gen for, 5 advisors and doing TV interviews and keynotes. And I love that part, but I was terrified with the teacup shaking, speaking up in front of people, leaving my microphone on in the elevator. And it was just like awful. But I love this part of my life now. And yet I had to pass through that fear. That's the courage. It's not the absence of fear, right?
Yeah. Yep. And that is such a great point. Look, I've been doing this podcast now 9 years, over 7,000 episodes, and wow. I never thought that I could do it and have tens of thousands of people listening to me every month from all over the world. Here I am, not bragging. I'm just saying. I
know, because it still started with one. You had to start with one. That's where I'm at. I'm on that with my podcast right now. I've got the logo just designed this morning. Right. I've got my studio all set up, but it's like, is anybody going to listen? You know, that whole feeling. You're like, I know. What is anybody going to care?
Hey, in the beginning, when you get 10 downloads in an episode, you're on top of the world. Then you go up to 10,000 and you want 100,000. But really the only thing limiting you is you. And that's the way it is in life. You're your own worst enemy or your own best friend. But the beauty of life is you get to choose which. So, so if there's a goal to be set for somebody who untimely lost your job and your livelihood, what goal would you help them set for themselves?
I would set a goal to put a date in the next week down on your calendar to sit down and put some serious thought in what the next step is. Am I going to leave it there for a time and then set a date on my calendar to revisit it? Or am I going to start interviewing, if I don't have a financial advisor, interviewing a financial advisor that I can talk to about what my next step should be?
All right.
I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. And that is a great piece of advice. So time to start setting goals, not fretting about goals that you're not going to reach or you fear you're not. Because like my philosophy in life is the only limitation to where you can go in life, what you can accomplish is you. And the quicker you realize that, the sooner you'll be there. Hey, Arwen, your book, tell us about that. Yes. It's coming out in August.
Yep, coming out August 18th is the launch, and the book is titled She Handled It, So Can You, an inspiring and empowering financial guide for women. So this is written really to women 40 and above, looking at finances really through the eyes of my mistakes and what I saw with my mom growing up, and being able to educate women from just the basics of investing to really inspire them to start the planning process and believe that they actually can. So that's really, this is really written to a lot of women who kind of write themselves off for being able to understand money. And it's my desire that it's going to encourage them to take responsibility, because nobody's going to do it for you. So that is what it's all about.
All right. Excellent. And we really appreciate you coming on. Any questions or comments for Arwen? Please send us an email. Arwen, what's your website again?
BeckerRetirement.com.
Okay. And you'll see in the show notes a link to that site. So send us your emails, kl@kerrylutz.com, your tweets @KerryLutz. Facebook is Financial Survival Network. And of course, our main site, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Arwen, always a pleasure. And we'll look forward to speaking with you again.
Thanks so much, Kerry. Appreciate it.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.